And welcome, everyone. It's good to see you again, live people. People here live, I should say, live people. It sounded weird. This is Monday, August 2nd, for those our audio recording. And it is the regular session for the Pompey Town Board. I would like to take a moment in silence for the town resident who passed away this past month on July 16th, Michiko Kawasaki Stultz. Beautiful obituary on her and her life and her. It sounds like she was a wonderful person. I didn't know her personally, but if we could have a moment of silence for her, appreciate it. Thank you. So just by way of identification of everyone here, we're missing a couple of players tonight on this beautiful summer evening. Nikki Reed to my right, town clerk, myself, Renee Rotundo, town supervisor. Yep. Judy McElhannon, town councilor. Sheila Larkin, town councilor. Carl Dennis, town councilor. Tim Proteski, attorney for the town. Tom Chartrand, bookkeeper, accountant, budget officer, etc. We are missing Tom Purcell and Ann Christmas, our highway superintendent, and one of our town councilors. The first thing on our agenda is a second opportunity for discussion about the New York State Marijuana Regulation and Taxation Act that was passed by the legislature earlier in this year. We did a session last month. Our attorney for the town did a pretty thorough summary of the provisions and how they apply to the town. And I'd only ask him at this point to briefly go over again what the town's authority, if any, is as relates to cannabis regulation, because it's only relative to two specific licenses.
Yeah. So you have the opportunity to opt out of the allowing licensed on-site dispensaries and on-site, not on-site dispensaries and on-site consumption facilities or businesses in the town. You have up until the end of this year to opt out if you choose to do that. And if you opt out, then you would be in a position in the future to see how things go in other communities and make a determination as to whether you want to opt in at some point in the future. You don't have the option of opting out if you don't by the end of this year.
So that's in a nutshell what we have to decide as a board, whether or not we will choose to opt out of allowing dispensaries in the town or on-site consumption locations in the town by the end of the year. Recognizing that if we don't opt out, they will be allowed and we'll never have the opportunity to opt out again. So I would allow an open discussion on this. First, I'd like to ask the board if there's any comment or questions that you have from that's come up since last time that we were here and discussed this.
Well, the government hasn't really come out with anything new, so no,
No.
unfortunately.
And Sheila brought it up last month, but correctly so. The holdup is the structure's in place. The Cannabis Control Board and the Office of Cannabis Management, or whatever they call themselves, which would be the tech assistance agency for the Cannabis Control Board. Nobody has been appointed to any of those positions, and there's a little bit of a struggle going on between the governor's office. Probably too much information for the public, but that's the case. Doesn't like his appointees. So they ended their session and went on summer break. summer and aren't starting up again until 2022 is my understanding. So there has been nobody named to those boards unless they hold a special session.
I think it's pertinent what you just said to the decision making right now too. So I
Yeah,
think,
yeah.
yeah, that's,
So
has a lot to do with what I.
we have no guidance on, no rules, no regulations, and it is not really, how would I put it? Well, I'm just gonna put that out there. That's there is not going to be the sale of cannabis for a while because there's not going to be any licenses issued for a while because there is no cannabis control board at the state level. So they're talking 18 months to 2 years before anything is going to happen. So whether or not we opt out by, we're supposed to decide by December 31st what we as a town will do. So I'm curious if anybody, are we okay to ask if anybody here would like to publicly be heard? I see some of you from last time, so I'm not sure if you want to be heard again, but if you're here for a discussion on whether or not the town should opt out of the cannabis facilities, please let us hear your comments. You want Don Chrysler?
Right.
Yeah.
I knew nothing about this coming to head this way, not of being overseeing the boys in our Boy Scout troop and stuff. The talk that we had when we were talking drugs and alcohol and everything, they basically understand or feel that this is the opportunity to lead to something stronger. And they're feeling from, I'm gonna say the majority of the boys, when we're talking about this, is that they don't want to be involved with the drugs anyway. That's, I don't know, I would rather see you guys not take the option to offer to sell it in our community and not have it available. And down the road, that option becomes something you could allow if it's the way it goes. But
Right.
that's my feeling and what I collect from the boys in our stuff.
Okay, thank you. And you live on, it's Old Coleman Hill, right?
Right.
Just because we're supposed to have name and street. Don Chrysler, Old Coleman Hill Road. Anyone else? I'm going to give these to Nikki too. 4 emails that I received relative to this issue. One came in actually the day before our last board meeting, but I felt like I would just hold them until we finished the whole process. From Holly Frazee. And does she live on number 4?
Number 4, yes.
Thank you. I didn't want to,
East.
okay.
No,
That's actually number 5 road
Yeah.
where she lives.
She's on number 5.
I'm on 4.
Yep.
She's one. of-
That's right.
Yep.
So Town of Pompey Board, I won't be available to go to the meeting and just want to say that my vote would be to opt out of allowing dispensaries and on-site consumption sites within Pompey's town limits. The second email comes from Barb Virgil on number 4 road. This is from July 8th. Hi Renee, I was able to watch your meeting last night and I would hope that you will opt out of allowing cannabis dispensaries and on-site consumption in the town at your next meeting. In the future, if the town feels they want to change their position on the issue, it can be addressed with a town vote. This is the first time I've sent a note to the board. Let me know if I should email every board member or on this issue, or is one email enough to make my opinion count? Thank you, Barbara Virgil. And then an email from Joe Lorman from July 12th. Good morning, Renee. If I'm correct with my math, per the lawyer's comment at the town board meeting, the town would receive 3% of the sales tax. So on sales of $100,000, for example, the town would receive $3,000. I have no idea what amount of annual sales a dispensary would have, nor do we. It's not in there, but nor do we. If that could be determined, we could estimate the value of the benefit to our town, less any costs the town could have. I am still in favor of opting out now because, as you stated so clearly, that will keep our options completely open. Thank you for reading this, Joe Lorman. And I'm not sure where he lives either, and he didn't put
He's
his,
Squirrel Corn Lane.
that's right, I knew he's in the Pines, someplace in Pompey Pines. Oh, I've already given you this. And then this one just came in this morning, actually, August 2nd, from Richard Moseson. If I get his name wrong, I apologize, on Indian Hill Road. Hi Renee, my wife Chris and I will be on the road tonight and we'll miss the town board meeting, but we would like to give our support for allowing the sale of marijuana within the town. Neither of us has smoked grass since our college days, and we don't anticipate doing so in the future. But if someone wishes to set up a shop in the town, I don't feel that it would do any harm. Marijuana will be easily available in the Syracuse area anyway, so we don't see why we shouldn't allow people to purchase it here rather than require that they drive somewhere else to get it. Pompey will retain its character regardless. Best regards, Richard and Chris. So those are the 4 emails I've received on the matter. And I guess I'm interested in if the board feels like we are ready to make a decision on
Think so.
opting out or not. I think we had quite a discussion about it last time. A lot of people weighed in. The board talked about their own positions on it, so I would make a motion.
You don't have to make a motion because we're not, we don't have anything before us.
Okay, so we
you
can
need to
tell
direct
you to
me,
bring you, okay.
To,
So we don't need to make a motion for you to.
no,
Okay.
if you
But
want
we
me to
had-
draft a local law to set a
Yes.
date for, to set the date for a public hearing, so that won't be until October.
So-
So, we don't have the local law in front of us right now to set the date for public hearing. I can do one very quickly. Would you rather have the public hearing in September or October?
Well, I think I would rather have it in September.
Okay.
Was
so
there a
I-
reason
I'm-
why you said October?
Yeah, because we
Well,
have to set the date for a public hearing.
September is one of those months that we moved it because of Labor Day.
Oh.
We moved it back from the 6th to the 1st. So you might want to go with a normal meeting night as opposed to a
Non-normal.
off.
a
Which is
non-normal
why
meeting
you
date,
just said
which
that.
would be
So-
October 4th.
And we have time, right? If we'll
We have
draft
to-
this.
at the end of the year. Yeah, I
then
mean, I can, if you wanted to set the date for September, I can email you this local law right now. So you would have it in front of you. You're supposed to have it in front of you 7 days before the public hearing, so that'll be more than enough time.
I don't think much is gonna change.
I don't think so either. I think,
it's fine
I
to
think
do
it's
it on
fine.
a regular
Yeah.
business. I think we should do it on a regular. In October.
Okay, so I'm gonna have a local law
That's my
prepared for you next month to set a date for public hearing in October.
That works for me.
Does that
That
make
works
sense?
for us, I think, yes. Okay,
And so you'd be in a position to opt out in October.
okay. Feels like we already had a hearing.
Well, you still have to have a public hearing on the.
I know,
local
on the
law.
local law. Okay. Having never done one of these unsafe buildings.
And by the way, we could also do it, you can have a special meeting for the public hearing also, if you wanted to do that. You could decide that if you wanted to do it in September sometime. But
We can figure that out. I
Yeah,
think as long as we're not coming up against any
No.
like urgent deadlines,
you're
I think
not.
we're fine to do it in
Yep.
October.
okay,
So. So the next thing on the agenda is our public hearing on the unsafe buildings at 7364 Cherry Street. Last month,
yes, we call for a public hearing.
yes, last month, the codes officer filed a report on this property, which the board all received and reviewed. And after review of that report and consideration, the board did make a determination at that time that to declare the structures at Cherry Street property unsafe and dangerous, and called for a hearing on the matter at which the property owner could come tonight. It was for tonight to be heard. And I understand, especially since Mr. Chrysler is here, that Bob not served him personally last Wednesday, which was timely, and also served, I think, someone else at the house on Tuesday, but came back on Wednesday and served Mr. Chrysler. So, Don, I'm just gonna tell you, I've never done this one before. So I'm taking my lead a little bit from our attorney for the town to make sure that we do this properly. So would it be appropriate for him to be able to be heard now?
Absolutely.
Stand up and,
Yeah, you have to open the public hearing to allow.
oh, that's right. I forget it's a public hearing because it's really,
Well, it's really a public hearing. for-
yes,
for-
okay. So I would make a motion to open the public hearing.
Second it.
Judy seconds it. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carried. So we would like to hear from you on the situation over there. John,
The property does have issues to it. Yes, totally agree. And then there was a heavy snowfall in February. It took the garage roof down and it took the back woodshed. Basically, there's no floor or anything in that back part of the house structure. That, it also took that down at that time. And I did not get it cleaned up, and I did have a company that was an Amish crew there that was going to actually reset the walls and put trusses and remetal the building that there, and then they were going to clean up the back of the house there and put the wall back up, take down that old section. They told me they'd be there the middle of June, and so I actually stopped myself doing much of anything when I was cleaning up there because they were gonna finish that up. And then they didn't show up the middle of June, and I was calling them, and that's it. One of the fellows, they don't use a phone or drive or anything, but one of the people they have hired with them, he was the contact person, and he called me just before we left for Boy Scout camp and said, oh, we won't be able to make it until the end of August. And now I got the letter and everything. And that's what I was trying to get a hold of a couple other guys that have worked for me and stuff. And back 5 years ago, put the roof on after Carl Stearns of Crawford and Stearns came out and went through the house at that time and said, yeah, if you don't get a roof on it, the structure is gonna be coming down. And so we did roof it at that time. And when it says something about the second story, but what actually was the metal, had a metal ceiling, was all in metal, and the water that had come in before caused that to start to collapse. So I tore that all off and stuff back at the time. This, like, Carl that went through the structure, and he actually, I think he only thought he was gonna spend 20 minutes there. And when he was there, the kitchen, the old mantelpiece for the kitchen for the fireplace, he's like, that predated 1810. The woodwork in that, and then different components in the house was all pre-1810. And then when he got to the new big section, actually, that says 1812 on it, that looks like that was the actual year that addition was put on from the small house. Because the house was actually built in 1807. And then someplace around 1840 to 1850, when the Greek revival style come in, because everybody in all the historians and stuff, I guess nobody, Roger Dodge we've never been invited in that house. All the time the Longs owned it, and they've owned it almost 100 years. And they never had anybody come into the house and look at it or anything else. But the structure, so Carl, when we got up into the attic area and stuff, there's two sets of hand-hewn beams, and one's 22 inches higher than the other set. Well, he dug out the insulation that was there, and the original rafters had set down on the lower beams, and they raised the roof up 22 inches to make it extend over the house for the Greek revival style. And the second floor, they didn't do much on that, but just the first floor was what they changed and put headers or the woodwork over the top of the doorways and stuff like that to make it the Greek revival style. And the old wallpaper was still underneath those header plates that they put in just to bring it up to Greek revival style, and the woodwork was of that. I was in hopes that it would be a bed and breakfast and stuff. Things have been whatever, I don't know, messed up a little bit on my income since for the last 10 years, but we finally gotten that back and you know, just struggling through it. And that's it. I don't know. It's like I've asked now Nicholas, I want them to give me a price on Nicholas Construction. What would it cost me to
Right.
take the thing down? It just seems like it's a piece of history for the town of Pompey. Henry Seymour, he had the house built. His son was born in the house. He was two-time governor of New York State, ran against Ulysses Grant for presidency. There's a lot of history there. Henry, he left in 1818 to go to he moved to Utica because he got in charge of the Erie Canal. He was put in charge of that. And so he's one of the main signers out there at the new Erie Canal. His name is signed into different places out there where he had, you know, that's his name anyway. And that's what he went on to do after he left the town of Pompey in 1818. You know, I don't know. I would really like to try and take care of those issues that are at fault with the property and get that tightened up. We did put several thousand into the roof to get that, so it was all closed up, so I didn't have the water damage internally.
That was the last time you were here, like 5 years ago?
Yeah.
Have you done anything since to improve, to fix it up?
No, not really.
And you can see the
Stuff that way.
disparity.
What's that?
I said, you can see it's continued to deteriorate,
In-
right?
And that back room was rough shape at
Yeah.
that time too, and that, it should have been taken off. And it didn't happen.
What is your plan for the house if you were going to fix it up?
I would really like to have it as a bed and breakfast place and historically, listed and have it that way. And at the time I had spoke with Lorena Hoffman, and then I don't know, once she got out of office that, I ended up falling apart. She didn't have anybody to basically, I guess, lead off and help with things because nothing ever materialized there and at the time too, the funding wasn't there for anyone to be able to get any monies or anything to put into the house. And I'm not sure what's up and coming for monies available. I've heard different things, but nothing's locked in, it's
Well,
there.
I think that,
Parking would be a problem for bed and breakfast. There's no area there enough on the property for any possible parking.
I mean, the house, what sets on over an acre of land. I mean, when you look at the front of the house, yeah, there is no parking there, in the front around that, you have to be around back. But I mean, a bed and breakfast, I wasn't thinking of, it'd be like maybe for two or something. I wasn't thinking of having it be a family deal or an 8-bedroom deal or anything. It would just be a couple, two, maybe three, but not a large number or anything like that. Was something,
yeah,
that was an idea that, we had thought that possibly we could, have happen, but
so
surely isn't.
you've been through this before with the previous board as far as having to come and like fix an unsafe condition. So I just want you to understand, we really have two options available, or you have two options available,
Mhm.
which is that you can repair it and restore it to a condition that is not dangerous and not unsafe. And it has to be in the opinion of the codes officer that's able to be done,
Mhm.
or it has to be demolished. Those are really the only two options at this point. And funding, the county has offered some Main Street beautification funding, and I spoke with them specifically today about your situation. But they will not support a beautification of a property that has been left in an unsafe condition. The only way they would do it is if the property, and I'm not suggesting that you do this, nor am I suggesting that the town wants to. If it was turned over to the town, and then the town could apply for funding and the town could fix it up. But I'm not even saying that that's something the town would want to take on at all, because the
Right.
pictures that our codes officer, he gave us a packet of pictures of the house, and Don, the house is, and such rough. How will you fix this up? How could you possibly fix it up?
And
I mean, the foundations, the sagging porch, the foundations are separated from the. I'm just wondering, do you have the ability, the means, financially or otherwise, to do it? I know you have the heart to do it.
right.
I know you have the heart.
And just wondering what part of a foundation that you're thinking that is so distraught. I guess, I know the porch, those piers there, they, the front porch, the heat, whatever, and it's structurally coming forward, the wall and stuff there on that front porch. And then I know the other porch, the original small porch that was built early on, that's got water damage there, but that's not the structure of the foundation of the house. Yes.
Well, and I'm relying on my codes officers inspection of the house. A thought occurred to me, and there's,
Back at the time, Fred Hill was codes enforcement officer and stuff. And he had gone through the house and he didn't
Went in
see
it?
any reason why it couldn't be fixed. And that's what Carl Stearns came to the meeting and he also, said the same thing, other than if that roof was not repaired, then there would be continuous damage internally with the house and it would bear being torn down. Like I say, we did do the roof, we stopped those leaks and.
Yeah.
Took care of that. I get, and I mean, because I'm just gonna say this, but that really has nothing, it's our issue, it's our problem, whatever, where my brother-in-law came down with leukemia and he walked off on the house he was supposed to be buying of my mother-in-law's and stuff and left us with a large tax issue burden on that and everything. And we did put it up for sale, but it needed a well and it needed upgrade and stuff and whatever, but that has nothing to do with, that, but it's just financially, we got over 25,000 tied up into that right now.
yeah, I just,
Well, whatever.
I want to see a way out of this for you. I just don't know if you have the ability to fix it up. That's the problem that I see. And if you can't fix it up, as I said, there's only two options.
Right.
And I don't know if, and Bob, I don't know if you've talked to Don about this, but our town engineer could go through there,
We have not.
give us an opinion on that.
Well, or you can hire an engineer and come back to the board and say that the
True.
building is structurally okay.
Right.
But as it stands today, it is an unsafe structure according to our code enforcement officer and according to the town board. So something has to be done.
Right.
And if it's not done within 90 days, basically, the town could go in and take it down itself.
Mhm.
And the cost is going to be extremely
Right.
more expensive than if you did it yourself.
Exactly. Yeah, I know they had said they were,
I know.
whatever, the bid before was $30,000 to remove that house. It's like, whatever, that's
Well,
what,
if the funding from the county had been, if you had been eligible for that, they could have picked up 75% of the tab, but they won't do it on a building that has been neglected. And they view an unsafe, dangerous building as a neglected building that should have been taken care of by the landowner. And if it wasn't, they're not going to step in and do it.
So
That's basically what they told me.
would it be all right to come back to the board next month then, and with what's been, what I can get done? I've got a couple people that said, hey, I can help you out, but they're working in between jobs and stuff like that, would do work on it. Could I come back and show progress as to what's done? Maybe I, could hire, like, say, an engineering firm to come out, take a look at the house and, it's either approval that it structurally can be, if can be done or whatever.
Well,
This
let me,
this
Bob,
could have already been done, Don. It would have been helpful, something like that is already to show your good faith that taking place.
because I know Bob's been out there since the garage collapsed in April.
Right, no.
So it's been since April that, I mean, as I said to you before the meeting started,
Immediate issues are the walls are supported with 2x6, right? The garage walls are supported with 2x4, 2x6. That's a safety hazard right there. If something ever happens, somebody goes get kicked out, somebody's underneath them, the back porch is collapsed. That's a safety issue. Those are the immediate concerns that need to be addressed. The house, we have a little time. I don't want to say we have a little time. If the board decides that they want to have the engineers come out and do an evaluation on the foundation and the actual house itself, but the immediate safety concerns need to be addressed.
I would ask that you hire the engineer and that's not on the taxpayers. And could we say within 30 days,
Yes.
come back to us?
Yeah, but on the house part of it,
Yes.
but the garage and what else, the garage has to be taken down.
garage needs to come down, Don. I mean, propping those walls that had already collapsed up
Eyesore.
is dangerous. I was at the ice cream stand and walked across. I didn't go on the property, but I walked across and all I hear is creaking. That doesn't exude confidence. It's dangerous. It's that the way you've got it propped up. I don't know if that garage, if the bones of that garage are salvageable, even if you've got somebody to come there and reconstruct the garage, what you've got left there. I don't know if could be used to do that. And so I'm almost, it should have been just completely, my opinion, my lay opinion, taken down that garage once that collapsed with the weight of that snow.
Mhm.
But the way it is now, and as I started to say, I've had so many complaints about how it looks. And it's not just from, one person.
No,
it's
and I
across the
realize,
board, and-
yeah, I totally.
and and I just, practically speaking, my concern for you is, can you do this? Can you afford to do it? You want to do it, but 5 years ago, I read through all the town board meeting minutes from back then.
Right.
Same exact scenario,
Mhm.
and I know the roof saved you then, but 5 years have passed. And I'm not sure there's been any improvement since then on the property and it's dangerous. So I just don't know, practically speaking, if you can you afford to do it? Can you afford to fix it up?
But whether he can afford to or not is immaterial. The fact of the matter is, it's an unsafe building.
That's practical.
And because it's an unsafe building, something has to be done.
Mhm.
If you are asking the board to give you some time on the house itself, and our code enforcement officer is saying that is not the most severe problem, even though it's a significant problem, and you can get an engineer to come over there and look at it and say that that can be salvageable, fine. But that is not the case with the garage.
Okay.
Is that, Bob, am I saying that correctly?
You are correct.
Right. Take that down and concentrate on the house.
Take it down and paint the house and maybe it'll be a win.
Well,
Yeah. I mean,
it's just
there's, yeah.
you know what that house used to look like,
So if you come back by next month and there's no engineering report that says that this structure is salvageable,
Right.
are you gonna ask again for another? This has to be taken care of.
I got you. No, yeah.
Okay, so it's entirely up to the board how they want to handle it, but in terms of what our code enforcement officer is recommending, he's recommending demolition of the garage, which must commence within the next 30 days.
commence, doesn't mean it has to be finished, but it needs to start within 30 days.
Okay, and the board is willing to take a engineering report prepared by your engineer that says the house itself it would be salvageable. So if you can provide that to the town board by the next board meeting, then they won't tell you to demolish the house until then. If they don't get anything from an engineer, then that's gonna have to be demolished also.
Can I add to that, please?
Sure.
I agree, the garage, yes, the garage needs to come down. What's left remaining of the garage needs to come down. The rear porch that is collapsed needs to come down. The openings, the window, the basement window, any openings into the house itself where animals or a kid, somebody can get in there, needs to be boarded up.
And there's
Those are
several,
basics that need to be
yeah,
addressed right away.
okay. So next board meeting is September, what did you say, Tom? It's an
Next
odd-
meeting is September 1st, 6:30 PM.
Okay, so come back on September 1st, please, with some progress so that we can continue, because,
And I agree.
Can't languish.
Not
yeah,
not here to defend that
I know,
it's not an eyesore or that there's not issues.
I know.
All right, let's make a motion.
I make a motion.
Wait 1 second, let me just write it down so I can.
I didn't. read.
Carol, do you want to say something?
Yes, I do. Is there wood, how old is the wood? You have beams in that garage that came down and what year are they from?
That was built probably around 1925 or so. There's no beam.
Reclaimed
It's just
lumber, okay.
2x6,
Okay.
rough cut, basically all sides.
Because you do know there are people that come down, reclaim lumber. My restaurant in Manly is Cafe 119 was built in the 1700s. What we had to pay for reclaimed lumber when my husband was renovating is outrageous. So there are people that come for that lumber. So they would be more than happy to come and do whatever they have to do for that wood.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
So would we continue the hearing?
No, you can close the hearing.
Okay,
Motion to close the public hearing.
second it. Carl made a motion, Judy seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. So we're gonna close the hearing.
Okay, and then a motion to declare the garage as an unsafe structure to be demolished, commencing within the next 30 days. The back porch on the house, an unsafe structure to be demolished, commencing within the next 30 days. All the windows and openings in the house will be secured and closed
Ordered up.
or boarded up within the next, commencing within the next 30 days. So those are three conditions, Nikki. And then the fourth condition is the board will wait to hear from the property owner to determine whether or not, from an engineering standpoint, the house can be salvaged. and Restored.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Made the motion, Sheila seconded it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. You got your work cut out for you, Don.
High gear.
Yeah. It's sort of Fisher cut bait time with that house because it's been, I think you've had 5 years and 90 days to get it. Fixed.
No, it's been.
Yeah. I'm gonna take that question, Caroline, but we really need to have public comment. Was anything get saved for public comment? Because otherwise we're gonna, I don't want it to be a free for all, but
Just
yes.
one quick question. I've got 3 houses near me and it's not unusual for a sheriff to knock on our door and ask if we've seen anything going on across the street. There's a house at the end of the road that the whole house, there is no back to the house. The whole house is fallen in. And I think that people here have been made aware of that. I'm wondering, is this going to be town-wide that now they're going to go at the different houses? Because his house isn't the only one. We've got one down the road that's got trees growing through it. I mean, I'm just,
Well,
where is this?
Yeah, and let me tell you something. The code enforcement in this town prior to my administration was horrible. And there have been a lot of properties that should have been had the codes officer come alongside well before they've gotten to the point where they've gotten now, which is probably the way you're describing it. Some of those houses might be coming down the pike, but it's not fair to property owners that keep their properties up to allow properties to exist that devalue them in the neighborhood. So the code enforcement is just that. You enforce the code. If the house is unsafe, that's the standard, unsafe or dangerous. So if it's unsafe or dangerous, if it's dilapidated, we can't necessarily do anything if it's not unsafe or dangerous. It has to be if you read the code is very explicit about the purpose of the purpose of the provisions, but also what we can do. It's very specific and you have to meet the standard. Unfortunately, Don's property does. But if you're aware of properties that you think are unsafe, please bring them to the attention of the code enforcement officer here because we will take care of
Well,
them.
they've been brought to the codes office.
I don't know if they have, but are you aware of anything on Pompey Center Road?
No, road
Indian
number
Hill?
2 west, road
Yes.
number 2
Yes.
west.
I
Road number
am
2
aware
west.
of that.
Thank you.
She did ask for a demo application. And that was sent to her.
Okay. So they've been working on it.
Last month, I have not seen it come back.
Because it's missing the whole back of the house. You know the house I'm talking about. Yes.
That sounds like an owner that's going to demolish. So, and get the permit and do it themselves. So if that's the case. If they've asked for it.
Really, just, let's follow up.
Pardon me?
Before you leave, let's follow up on that.
Yes, and then the one right across from my house. They've got other people going and it's a mess too. Nobody's been there. Okay, I'll
Before
follow
you
up
leave,
with you. Thank you.
Okay, everybody good? What I would like to do, if you don't mind, is go to the new business section of the supervisor's report about the proposal for the phone system, because Brian Carr, who is zoomed in, I asked him to attend and maybe we could take care of that, just have that discussion and then he would be free. Hi, Brian. He wouldn't have to stay through the rest of the meeting. Just as a courtesy to him. So the board has, well, we've been working, Nikki and I, on a review of the town's phone system. And discovered that for quite a while now, we've been paying for phone lines and fax lines that we don't use. And our phone system needs upgrading. So, and we were told by our IT guy that manage it, Dan Bender, that we could save money if we upgraded our phone system. So he recommended Brian to us as a phone consultant. And we've been working with him. And indeed, we can save significant money that was being wasted on lines that weren't being used, fax lines, phone lines, but, and cut back on costs and at the same time have an improved phone system. So Nikki and I have had virtual meetings with Brian and Dan Bender. We have been given 3 different proposals that the board was given the cover letter dated July 12th, and then the 3 proposals that were included. We then narrowed it down to 2 of the vendors because one of the vendors was much more expensive than the other 2 for the same system. And had demos last week with those 2 vendors. And after that, really, both Nikki and I liked one of them over the other one. But I asked for some references so that I could check out, do our due diligence and check out how other agencies or companies liked the system, and the one that we're talking about is Broad Voice. Brian's here in case the board has questions, so I hope you have at least one question for him, so it's not a waste of his time. But I didn't want to have a question that I couldn't answer that might be something beyond my expertise or my knowledge. So, but suffice it to say that we have been spending over 600 and something dollars a month on phone.
So we spend $632 roughly a month here in this building and 107 on the garage for both phone and internet service.
So this is related to phone, just phone.
Well, we probably need internet service still to operate these phones.
Yes, so yes, and that's not going to change, right? Brian, you're on mute, just, yeah, that's not going to change.
Correct. The internet services would remain as is, as well as one line that the town has for their alarm.
Fire, yes,
Fire.
okay. But in taking an inventory of what our needs were, we realized we only need 9 lines in this town, and that would, in the town, between highway and town hall. And in addition, we would be able to connect the highway with the town hall, which has always been a separate, they've been separated. So we'd improve connection, communication, and for less than half the cost of what you're saying, but I don't know.
Well, we would immediately eliminate $107 by tying the garage in under our
Yes.
phone and internet in this building. So that would be an immediate saving.
But the cost for these, for the service we're looking at is $292 a month, not $632 a month. So
What
it's a
is-
huge savings, and the features, just, and then Nikki and I really drilled down on what the features would be, that would be useful, necessary, helpful. And it's a pretty, I'm almost feeling like I wouldn't even know how to use some of the features. I'd have to learn. But it would allow us to remote into with our messages. We could put an app on our phones that would keep separate town work. So it's not, you're not going to be having to worry that if it's on your phone's going to get foiled, and you're going to have to worry about having to submit your phone for review. But I'm a fan of, and I don't really have the full understanding of the capability of this system. I don't know if, Sheila, you had a question, and then I'm wondering if you want to hear just briefly from Brian. as
That's
to the
what I'm,
features.
can you just tell us about it? Brian?
Sure. The different providers that we approached, basically we were asking them for a cloud PBX or hosted PBX solution, which means that the brains of the telephone system would be hosted in the cloud rather than on premises. What that means is that down the road, if anything breaks with your current system, you have to call a phone vendor to come in on his time, charging you T&M to repair, physical hardware. From this point, the proposals that we've provided, the service would essentially simply be desk phones that would plug in, and then they would utilize the internet connection. And you have the ability to control the system 100%. Routing calls, the way they flow from one person to the next can be changed. If someone accepts a call at town hall and they have to go out to the highway garage, they can take it on their mobile phone, and the app can seamlessly transition from desk phone to mobile phone without any issues. It has a tremendous amount of features that I often tell my clients, you're only going to use a small portion, but there may also be that time when you say, oh, hey, I'm wondering if the phone system can do this or that. And because it's hosted in the cloud, there are just dozens and dozens of features that are available. Again, most people don't use them. You'll use the same 3, 4, 5 type of features, but they're available. For example, I had a client that was just told that his service it could record calls. If he was asked that a few years ago, he said, Brian, that meant nothing to me a few years ago. But now in a day and age where, things can be said and now you're on the hook for saying something, you have a recording of the call if you so choose. So it's just a very, very feature-rich product. It puts you in control rather than having to pick up the phone and call a phone company to come out and repair something. The tech support, any type of repairs, it's 24/7, it's free. So it really kind of puts you more in control and keeps a bunch of money in your pocket each month.
Thank you.
And you can, just so, and correct me if I'm wrong, because this is my layperson's explanation, we'll be able to get faxes and other types of documents directly to our email, so we don't waste paper. Like
Correct.
scan,
Yeah, there's two options. There's one is it can go to the traditional machine and you take the piece of paper off of the fax machine, but there is also fax to email. The document just comes directly into your email. You save it into your folder for whatever it may be, whether it's legal or highway or tax purposes or whatever it may be. And you don't have to print out the document and then put it into a file folder.
So Tom, what do we actually pay for internet service on that big fat $600 bill?
I do not actually have the internet bill in front of me there. I just looked through the folder. We don't have one today. So.
Okay.
I can answer that for you if you'd like.
Oh, yeah, I sent him all the
Yay.
bills.
It's $113 a month for the internet service today. And I actually noticed that there was a service on that invoice that wasn't necessary, Wi-Fi services that Dan Bender is taking care of for you guys. So that'll save you $8 out of that bill. Your internet speed is easily capable of handling the voice traffic should you go with this direction.
our codes officer has a question.
Sure.
If you're talking VOD, voice over data, are we on battery backup with that? We have to have 2 phone lines for our fire alarm system.
No, I think the fire alarm system's staying with Time Warner. I think.
That was the plan. Yeah, the fire panel and fire alarm lines cannot go over this service. So those lines would be remaining with Time Warner Spectrum.
Thank you.
So we get more for less, is that pretty much the deal?
I hate saying yes, but yes, absolutely, you do.
Well, and I did reach out to, thank you for getting me some references. I did reach out to the 2 companies that use this system already. One absolutely loves it, said the price is really good, has had no issues. They've been using it for 6 to 7 months. Very ergonomic and comfortable system to use. I think she meant the phone itself. And she said the best thing for her and her work, because she travels a lot, was that all the voicemail goes to your email. So she doesn't have to keep checking messages. She sees them when on her email. And the other reference that I got was that person is no longer working for that company, but her replacement had less knowledge, but equally pleased with the service. So I did do my due diligence. I didn't just accept the company's explanation. So, but I think Nikki,
Oh, I thought it was great. Yeah.
then there's a way we're going to work with trying to improve the communication between the public and the justice courts by giving them their own lines. And we talked about that with, was it Joe? I forget who was on that. Those
Yes.
demos, yes. So, And that's been an issue for us in this town for a while.
Voice to email,
You're right.
issue
I'm
solved.
telling you. It's, they
That's
can't,
huge.
yes, so I
Way of the
think
world.
that,
Yeah.
that was one of the issues that we brought up to them, was concern about the fact that a lot of the calls don't get answered. They come into Nikki because they need to talk to
Yeah.
someone and she
Right.
doesn't have the answers because she's not the court system. So,
Why not, Nikki?
this would be a win all the way around. And I just, we got our 3 quotes. So we're all good to go, and I just want the board's approval to move forward with
Thank
this.
you.
I
For
make a
doing that.
motion that
You're
we move
welcome.
forward.
Motion to hire or to,
To hire
hire-
For a
Broad.
3-year contract with Broad Voice Communications. for
And the other
phone.
thing is that we're locked in for 3 years. The price doesn't rise.
That's great.
So,
That's my motion.
okay.
I'll second.
Second,
Oh, sure.
Sheila
Gotcha.
Beecham. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carried. Brian, you got some questions, so it wasn't a waste of time. Thank you for zooming in.
Thanks, Brian.
Appreciate it.
Brian.
Well, thank you for your time and I'll follow up with you tomorrow, Renee.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Thanks for your hard work.
Yeah, you
ladies.
too.
You're welcome. It's well worth it.
Yeah.
Okay. Thomas,
Oh, okay.
we're now back to you.
All right, so if we go to the last page of the reports, which is a statement showing all of our money coming in and going out, you'll see some really interesting numbers there.
Large numbers.
Yeah, the first one is, we did receive the first half of our American Rescue Plan funding. Came through the state. That came in at $371,609.89. And if you want to see where that shows up in your main report, you can go to page 3 of the big report. And you'll see 8 lines down, you'll see A410 due from federal government. And that shows the total amount that we are, first line, the debit there is the total amount we're expecting, $743,220. And it shows you the receipt of the first half, $371,609.89. And down at the bottom, you will see, well, down a few lines, you'll see other liabilities, A688. And that shows the total amount that we're expecting. And so as we start to spend from that 743,220, that will start to reduce, showing us what's left of our 2-year total. And that's
So that's how we
the
set it
way the
up.
state wants it set up.
Okay.
That is,
I was hoping we could keep it separate so we know what we're spending.
well, it's on separate lines, and what's going to happen is, as we authorize the expenditures, we will be reducing the liability.
Gotcha.
And so that number will go down, but we'll be spending it out of line items in our budget. So if we're spending it out of something we don't normally, we will do a budget transfer showing using that surplus, putting it into a budget line, and then showing the expenditure on the main report on page 1. So it doesn't actually show as a revenue. It's not really a revenue to us. It's a accrued liability. It's something that we're owed by the federal government. As we spend it down, we'll reduce that liability. So that,
You might have to explain that to me again.
I will
I
try
get
and
it.
explain it several times. And I'm going to be doing it about 8 more times in the next couple of weeks. So I will try to come up with a good.
No, I get it in theory. I just, I hear you.
The next item is also a very good number. As Dave Knapp told us, most of the counties keep all of the mortgage tax, but Onondaga County does share it with the towns. And our first one came in at 153,000, which is 13,000 over what we estimated for the whole year. We get our second payment. They tell us the amount at the end of November, the county does, and they send us the money like at the first couple of days of the new year, but we accrue it against this year's budget. So we are 13,000 to the good there. You'll see now that the swim program started, we did receive some of the registration funds from the town of Pompey residents and from the residents from other places other than Fabius and Lafayette, which Megan's given me the numbers, and I'm submitting vouchers to the other towns to reimburse us for their students. And we had a couple of developer deposits, small refund. And down on the spending side, not a whole lot of excitement there to tell you about, just the normal stuff we'd expect this time of the year. But I think that was all I had on the statement. If there's any questions. I think the bank reconciliations went around.
Yep.
And so we would need a motion approving those.
Make a motion, we approve the bank reconciliations as presented to us.
Second. Motion by Carl, Judy seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carried.
Okay, and I think everybody's seen all the vouchers and we answered a bunch of questions on them. Are we ready to approve payment?
I would move payment of the vouchers.
A second.
Judy seconded it. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
Okay, and on the year-to-date spending, currently our general spending is at about 51% without the SOTs included in that. And our revenues are at 98%. And that, a lot of that's due to the big number coming in for mortgage tax. Our current highway spending is at about 40%. Their revenue is at 93%. And of course, we're, the big thing that we're still outstanding in the highway department is the CHIPS funding. So we've got to spend the money to pave the roads and then we get reimbursed.
Okay.
All right, let's see if I got.
What was our
everything.
spending year to date? Sorry,
General fund was 51%.
thank you.
And highway was at 40%. So we're looking at, you know, the bills that have been through most of, through part of July. So we're perfect, right where we should be
Great, thank
for
you.
spending.
And do you want to mention, we keep gaining with OSEBA, which is
Yep.
huge, huge.
Yeah,
We're
we're,
better and better.
yeah, I think we were like, what, about 30,000 to the
30,000
negative at the end, and now we're almost 30,000 to the good. So
So we
Good
have
shape.
dug ourselves out of that $90,000 hole we started with in January of last year. So that's a relief because that will help us.
hopefully our rates will not go up as much as they did last year.
Right.
So that's what we're
It'll
gonna
help. So,
do. And I
thank you.
think that's all I had for you
Okay.
right now.
Nikki, the only thing I have on your, is for your
My
minutes.
minute, yeah, that's right. The boards had the chance to review the draft for July 7th for a motion.
I make a
Make a
motion.
motion, 7/7/21, regular meeting minutes be approved.
I'll second it. Thank you.
Carl made the motion, Sheila seconded, nobody heard Judy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. I will pretend to be Tom Purcell for the moment, because Tom is not with us tonight, but I did speak with him today, so I do have some information. The last time we were here, we talked about Joe Sal, the county contractor that gave the roof. There was a quote on the salt barn roof, and the insurance company is sort of balking at the cost of it, but we would save enormously if we went with them because they're under county contract and we would not have to bid it out with all the costs that go along with that. So he called Joe Sal because the insurance company said that they reached out to them and didn't get a call back. And they're saying they never got a call, so they were calling them. So anyway, that's where it's at. They're negotiating, hopefully, a price that everybody can agree on, and then we can move forward with that salt barn roof and get the work done and get it paid for. I just want to take a moment to thank, if Tom, he probably would be humble and wouldn't make a big deal about it, but the work they did on the Pompeyville Hamlet, the park, to spruce it up and pull out the bushes that were completely overgrown, take care of the rotted cedar shingle roof over the signage, and the work that, and just trim the trees and everything they did, as well as we had flowers planted there, put in the monument, the cement, the Frank Jerome Monument, which I'm still looking through my Pompey volumes to try and figure out who he was to the town. Yeah, that's who the monument is to there. We removed the sagging park benches. We took out the fire department's signage that was falling apart with their permission. And it looks like a different place. And I can't thank the highway crew enough for the work they did. We put up signs welcoming Empire Farm Days visitors and exhibitors. So if you haven't gone through the Hamlet, you should, just because it looks so much better. So it really does.
Great
And I
job,
just thank the highway for their help. And we can hold off on town signage for now. We're working with Sign Solutions on some quotes on that, and without Tom here, we can get back to that. So Tim, you're up.
We have a JCAP resolution, similar to the last year's JCAP
Yep.
resolution. to Apply for money for the courts.
We haven't actually got they haven't opened up that application process yet, but Ann was suggesting we should do this to be ready.
Most of my other towns that are planning on
You
applying have
suggested
already
it.
done this.
Yeah, so we want to be ready when the money comes through. If you notice, the difference this year, just so you're aware, is that it's really relating to space issues for the judges, their need for extra storage, and also this meeting space doesn't really allow for private attorney-client conversations or judge-attorney conferences. So the money would be used to work with, in part, an architect to come up with some designs that could work in this room that to provide it, as well as considering an addition to the building. So that's what we're thinking about, using the money for, storage and to a redesign. So
I make a motion.
I was gonna say, can we entertain a motion?
I make a motion that we apply for the 2021 Justice Court Program
I'll second it.
So Judy made the motion,
for the funds.
Sheila seconded. If there's no more discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. So the other thing on the list, and I see Mr. Kimball is here, is the issue of the signage request that was made last time, really relating to what's going on in your neighborhood with your neighbor. So I asked him to look into it and get back to us with like some sort of a legal advice.
So I did look into it, and as I understand the situation, the property owner is unhappy with no trespassing signs being posted by his neighbor. Many no trespassing signs. The problem is that in order for you to enforce no trespassing on your property, you have to post it. And they have to be posted within 660 feet of each other. It doesn't say that there is a maximum number of signs or a minimum number of signs. It's just how far they can't be from each other. So I don't think it would be very difficult to create a law to restrict people from posting no trespass signs when the law requires them to post no trespassing signs to enforce no trespassing. So I don't think that, and this is what's a unique situation. We don't usually create laws based on specific situations. We create laws that will be advantageous for the entire town, and that will be general in nature and not specific in nature. So I don't recommend that we do anything as it relates to no trespassing signs or create a law related to no trespassing signs.
I do have to, I went up to see what he was talking about. It is excessive and disturbing, but
Well, no trespassing signs by their very nature, there's nothing about their nature
no,
that would be offensive about that.
right. And
So,
the height of it was so high. It's.
yeah, but
That's okay.
again,
too.
the state statute says in order for you to post your property, you have to have no
Right.
trespassing signs.
Right,
And the signs themselves are the normal size. I mean, it's not like the signs are are large. They're the size that
Right.
that the posted signs,
They're
Supposed to
basically
be.
not illegal.
they're just,
Right.
No, they're not only not illegal, they're
they're
required
required.
in order to post a property.
So in advance of this meeting, we assumed you guys might come to that conclusion. So we did review local ordinances in 4 other local jurisdictions. And there is precedent for limiting the posting location, the overall number of signs by square footage, as well as the way that signs are posted. And I think we as a, I can provide those precedents to you if you'd like to see. The specific municipalities I found were the city of Oswego, city of Syracuse, city of Auburn, and city of
Yeah,
Binghamton.
you notice they're all cities.
Cities, there's cities.
Of course.
Richard.
I think the overwhelming thing here is like, we can look at this and we can say, hey, maybe this isn't illegal. But I think we can also look at this and say, this is clearly wrong. And this is clearly not in the interest of our community. And maybe this isn't the way that necessarily we would take care of something like this, but perhaps a public nuisance declaration or something like that would be in order. I know that.
But it's not a public nuisance to post no trespassing signs.
Yeah, but 10 feet up in there is a different story.
No.
But-
So let me just say,
Yeah.
I received a call from your neighbors. Spoke to them. And heard their concerns. And I'm not gonna get into them right here. But suffice it to say, from where I sit, I am not going to, I would not want to entertain a townwide local law that is really the result of a neighborhood dispute. That seems to me to have gotten out of hand. And I have talked to them about taking down some of the signs and they seemed to be agreeable to do that. So I think that is where that's where your situation lies, is it's a neighbor dispute, but to ask the town to pass an ordinance to resolve your neighbor dispute is really, I mean, you can disagree. I'm just telling you from where I sit, that's how I look at it.
I was going to say, before I knew that Renee had spoken with the neighbor, that maybe we should have the neighbor come up and tell us what's going on, if you really want to blast that and do that. But if Renee's gotten that far, that's pretty
I
good.
mean, we would welcome that resolution. To be honest, the individual is sitting here right now. And we, quite frankly, I think myself and everybody else in this immediate community would just appreciate, a reduction in this kind of activity. We don't want to be
What's the
entangled with these
property at?
people. Number 2 Road East, 8356, number 2 Road East, 8330, number 2 Road East, and 2 other adjacent properties. I don't know if you want to add anything there. Good. You want to add something, Josh, or?
So I live on one of the adjoining properties.
Can I just have your name and
My
your,
name's Josh Stewart, I'm the 8384 number 2 road is. I understand the idea of placing ordinance or town code or something like that, that would obviously reduce people, the amount of posted signs that they could put up. I guess I'm obviously here to support Rich and Taylor, and I live next door to Dave and Judy Robinson. I've had this conversation with Dave, I've had this conversation with Mark about the posted signs. It was essentially a neighborhood dispute. I started it, if you will, an issue with a septic issue that created immediate backlash of, the placement of multiple signs directly on my property. Things were surveyed, posted signs went up, I guess my main concern here is that it makes everybody look foolish. And I have 3 kids, Rich has 4 kids. I voiced a concern about a post that was, within 6 feet of my kid's playground. The response I got was, I'll be down with a 6-foot posted sign and I'll pound that in behind your kid's playset. Well, then your kids don't know where the line is. Okay, that makes sense. So there's nothing neighborly about it. It's just retaliation for a concern I had with the septic issue that was addressed properly, which I spoke to Dave and Judy about and expressed my, we talked about it. The concern for me is that, what's the intent of the signs is an intent to harass. You put up a fence to avoid conflict, and somebody comes behind that and puts a sign at 10 feet in the air to go above your fence. It's not, clearly you know where the boundary is. You place the fence there to indicate a boundary. The sign goes up as a matter of harassment, just to let you know that, okay, now you still have to look at the sign. Sign behind my kid's place that was clearly to harass. When I spoke to Mr. Robinson about Dave, he assured me that the sign wouldn't go up. Within 24 hours, the sign went up anyways.
Who's Dave?
That's Mark's father. He lives, I don't know the address there.
Okay.
They're the general property owners, right there on one of the boundaries.
I have to agree with you on one thing. I mean, multiple things. But this is a neighborhood dispute that is gotten out of hand. And I don't want to call it childish or silly because it's very real to the people that are involved. It's difficult to live under the stress of, with neighbors who you don't get along with. And as we said last time, you weren't here last time, but neighborhood disputes are the worst things to resolve. People just get very set in their ways.
In my opinion, the resolution could just take place in a room and people can sit down and speak as adults. It's just turned into a battle of who can do what to who. I guess the thing for me at this point is the presentation that it shows to the rest of the community. I mean, I understand.
I'm hoping they will follow through and take down some of the signs. I don't know if they will or not, but I talked to them within the week. They called me within the past week, but I mean, if you're open to, are you open to resolving this with your neighbors?
We have repeatedly attempted to resolve it, including numerous times with this gentleman over here. We remain open to resolve.
Okay.
No, you know that's not much. I have tried to talk to you so many times. I can't tell you how many hours.
We're not gonna resolve it
Yeah,
tonight.
we can't, the town, this is the problem. I feel for your neighborhood because everybody is
Absolutely
affected, affected. But to come to the town, to ask for the town to intercede in a neighborhood situation where you're all adults and there should be a way to figure this out. There should be, some of those signs should come down. I agree. But they're not illegal. I mean, to pass a sign.
I said I'd take those signs down. But what did you do put those signs up, Rich?
They've been up since last fall.
Okay, we can't do this here in this room. No, in this room. There are dispute resolution services out there that would, I think, I'll pass the information on, but I think that you have to try to resolve it within the neighborhood. You really do. You have to get beyond.
We remain 100% willing to resolve the
Okay.
issues.
Okay,
Please don't laugh at us.
okay. I'm sorry that you had to bring it here, that it got this far, but I think that you need to really rise above the animosity. I can feel it in this room right now towards each other and work it out. You've got to work it out to live together. People in this day and age, they're set in their ways, they're set in their positions, and people don't want to budge, but there's common ground. You got to find it. You got to find the common ground. You guys have it. Yeah.
With the craziness that goes on these days.
Well, that's what I'm talking about.
Somehow.
Right. So it needs to. I am not making light of your circumstances. I just don't know if this town board is the place to bring this issue.
There isn't anything we can do.
But I'm happy to provide through the codes officers some, opportunities to try and resolve it. That's the best we can offer as the town.
Our families appreciate any help that you can provide.
Okay.
We're willing to do whatever.
Okay, good. Good. And the baby and your daughter have been amazingly
Yeah, they're really
well behaved, I have to say. Very well behaved. So,
That's all I have.
okay. Thank you. Bob,
Yes, ma'am.
we got a great eviction update.
Center Road, people finally moved out. The eviction notice was served. The people did move out. They're still moving some of their refuge out of the property itself. But I spoke with the new owners of the property. They closed on it almost 30 days ago. They are going to be fixing the house up. They've already spent money on the barn to get that brought back up. It looks a lot better. They re-sided one side of it. They're going to roof it. They've got other work to do. I spent almost 40 minutes with them this morning, taking a tour of the barn and the areas. They still have over 500 tires to get out of there. They're still working on that. The inside of the barn was just left a mess. He's got to work on that. The gentleman has a lot of work out of him, but the people are out of there. It's a big improvement with that.
Thank
I
you.
feel,
Thank you.
you know, Les Gillette and the other residents down that way are going to be a lot happier.
Yes. I might not get as many texts from Les
I might
anymore, but
Get to sleep at night.
but they might get some peace of mind. And
Yeah.
between what you've done and what the court was able to do, oh, be careful. What the court was able to do, our attorney, and the way everybody worked together on it. And you just didn't give up on it. So
It
those
was a 10-month
residents,
process. And
and COVID made it really hard.
Mhm.
So the fact that they're out, there's somebody else's problem though, I guarantee it.
Right, where are they gonna go next?
I don't know. So that's good news. The fire alarm, I have the form.
Yep.
Gave me, that's all we need. We need to come up with some sort of vendor.
nope, we're all set. They're gonna, this time alarm, we'll start the process.
Okay.
We're looking at around the 23rd for installation.
Oh, it's a new account application. That's why not. We
They
don't.
just want to update the
Okay.
credit reference.
So just Time Warner Spectrum or
No, this has nothing to do with, other than we have a phone line that goes into that box.
okay.
This is a separate, this is the fire alarm that's out in the red box out in the entryway.
Okay, okay.
Is he gonna be able to meet our timeline?
23rd is when they want to come in. They can't come in before the 23rd to get the work done.
Okay, well, we'll
Best we
give
can
it a
do.
try.
Yeah, okay,
If we get the paperwork served,
okay.
will that suffice to grant?
We'll see what happens with the grant. It's hard to say. I'm a third party to this. This is a justice court grant, so it's actually the court that deals with it.
I mean, I asked them to move it up and I will keep pressing Steve to,
Yeah.
move that.
He knows that it's grant money. I've told him.
Did we get a motion for you to enter into this contract at the last meeting? I think we did. on
We've
both
done it,
things,
we've
right?
done it before even last meeting, so,
The monies all have been approved and everything, yes.
yeah. I've already submitted the signed the
Very good.
approval of
I'm not
the
making a motion.
contract. And we're good with that. It's just getting the work done in the time frame for the grant, yeah. And then I just wanted to get an update from you. We did get a resignation last board meeting for the codes clerk. And I wonder if there's been any news on that. I guess, I will say that Leslie Rodriguez has agreed to stay on and work with our new code officer, Tim Gainey.
Oh, nice.
So,
How it works out.
and that just makes for smooth transition.
smooth.
Yes, and we really
Thank you,
appreciate it,
Leslie.
Leslie.
Are we
And she
hiring
is-
Leslie back or?
I know, that's what I want to
I
know.
don't
How
think
do I
we
do that?
accepted it ever, and I didn't file it with civil service because you told me to hold off.
Okay, so that's what I wanted to, that's why,
So we're
so
okay.
can we rip it up? Or do
Well,
we need to have it?
the clerk has to withdraw
Okay.
resignation.
Okay.
You're asking the clerk to withdraw your resignation.
Say yes.
I guess say yes.
So,
Okay,
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 so if the clerk is okay with that, then we're good.
okay.
I'm very
Okay,
good.
so Leslie.
Counselor reports. Well, Ann's not here. And Sheila, I was gonna ask if you would be interested in making the nomination for the Planning and Zoning Board Secretary.
Sure. On behalf of Anne, I'm making a nomination of the Planning and Zoning Board Secretary to be Mary Beth Pizarres.
I second it.
Any
Oh,
discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Yes, there
So-
is, and you're making that motion with the same salary as
It's,
the previous, or are we going to hourly?
oh,
You had talked about.
do we need to, can we do the nomination? Can we do that? And then talk about the salary, about that?
Yes.
Okay, so if we've appointed her, I spoke with Mary Beth and explained to her that I thought that the position should switch to hourly. Because it's more than just sitting here at a board meeting, taking notes
Right.
and then doing the minutes. We really, the boards need somebody to coordinate with the Nikki's office and with codes. So I would rather have it be an hourly position, but I did not set, I told her it would be up to the board to decide what the hourly rate should be for that position. So,
Where are we now?
So we probably, well, we're at a per meeting basis. I would suggest that we use the same rate that we use for Leslie's position, which is $13 an hour currently, since it is a clerk, similar type clerk position.
right, and I told her, I told her the meetings there's usually a planning board meeting every month, not always a zoning board. And that I didn't think the work would take more than 10 or 15 hours a month at the most. I can't even see it doing that.
What
but-
was the per meeting?
It was 100 for planning and 80 for zoning.
10 to 130 or 13 to 103 dollars.
What are you mumbling over there, Tim?
10 hours at $13 an hour is 130. I'm not very good at
Oh,
math, but
okay, I figured that one out.
they taught me that at least.
I don't think most of the time Donna submitted hours that related to that many hours for. planning.
Okay,
Well, we'll
That
see.
would
I-
need, we would need a separate motion to set that.
Yeah, so
rate.
I would move that we set the hourly rate, that we change the position to hourly pay, and that the hourly rate be $13 an hour for the rest of 2021.
I second it.
Carl beat you to
I
it,
know.
Judy seconded it. If there's no other discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion
And
carries.
if somebody could forward me name, address and stuff, I'll send out paperwork for
Okay.
getting around the payroll.
And Anne would have had much more to say about the tier 3 resource manual she and Sue have been working on. And it's coming along. We've got most of the materials together so that both the planning and the town boards will have everything they need when we get a tier 3 solar application as far as, prime, what is prime soil and the town, our mapping, where is the connectivity, all the things that we'll want to have everybody being consistently using, so that we're
Right.
not operating under different
Information.
information. Thank you.
I think that would be helpful for the
Yeah,
whole board.
that whole board is gonna
Right.
take the first
It's a lot.
hit on this, so.
Yep.
Carl? How
Oh.
did the schoolhouse repair come out?
Came out beautiful. Hiker did a fantastic job. We need a voucher tonight for the remaining 2,800 that he's owed.
Yeah, we processed that at
think
the
we-
last meeting.
We did, okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure because he called today, so that's in.
It was, I think it was mailed out to him probably last week, so he should be
Okay.
getting it pretty quickly.
He did a great job. John Kennedy is working on the oxen out here, and he's at a point where him and his brother have been using 4x4s and poles and everything else to help get the oxen up for the work on it.
Uh-huh.
And then tonight he called me and requested somehow he can hook up with the highway department and maybe the payloader could lift it up the rest of the way. And he would need to build a saddle for it to stay in after the payloader left as they finish the work on it.
Okay. What do you mean a saddle?
For it to come back down on it.
Oh, okay.
But
So-
he's gonna need to buy some timber. I don't know how that's gonna work out. He
Oh.
needs some Lumbers. Is there any way we can authorize him to get what he needs at the lumber company for the purpose of the oxen?
You mean as far as an advance on,
Yeah,
like the-
a bill would be incurred at the lumber company for 3 2x8s, 3 2x6s, and 2x4s.
Well, I would recommend that you coordinate that with Tom Purcell because we have an account at Tully Lumber.
Right,
So, and it's already set up tax exempt and all that type of stuff.
so
So I would coordinate that with Tom as long as the board's comfortable with authorizing that
Yeah.
expenditure for the materials.
I would have, as long as it goes through highway, he should work with Tom Purcell
Tom,
to get the materials so that
you know,
we
That
can
way
use our
we're
account.
under the tax exempt and we'll be
right,
billed
it
for it.
come from
That way
Tully.
we're not sending him a check and.
Right, the purpose of the lumber is to keep it up when the payloader pulls back away after it's lifted it up with the fork.
Okay. Those oxen look better already.
Hmm.
Those oxen look better already.
Wait till he's done.
Very talented man.
Wheel them up
There he
and get
is,
stones under him, so,
Yeah, so are you comfortable coordinating between the two of them?
yeah,
Okay.
I'll call him, and tell him.
I'm moving on to the supervisor's report, the old business. I'm gonna combine bullets 1 and 2, which is the workshop and the decisions we need to make. I think as a result of the July 26th meeting, special meeting we had, the board was of a mind, we'll get the ARPA money, but we're not in a rush. We will take our time to figure out the best way to spend it. However, the county funding opportunities for the town are time sensitive. I've talked to Tom Purcell about the county ARPA Capital Improvements Program. That application is due August 13th. It absolutely applies to town infrastructure, capital improvements for the town. Up to, I think, 500, I never get this right.
I thought that was 200,000.
It might be. I was gonna say, the two, I always mix them up because there's two.
One had a limit and one didn't, though, I think.
So, oh, maybe that's it too, but the word from the county was that, yes, it's absolutely for municipalities. And that's what they want you to spend it on. And so I've talked to Tom. He's already working with Joe Sal to come up with a quote for a metal roof on the highway garage, the original highway garage. He's working on he's gonna get a quote on the oil and water separator. We're gonna look into the water treatment for system for the town. And the hot water heater that is broken and we no longer have hot water. It's a good thing it's not the dead of winter in the town hall. So those 4 things are, and the more projects we have, the better our chances are of having something picked is how that was represented to me. So I don't know, I gave you the application, I think, somewhere. And if I didn't, I meant to. It's a 1-page. Did I give it to you?
I don't see that. Give it to us
It's
last.
literally, oh, I don't know, but well, let me show us. Yeah, I'll show you. It's a 1-page application. It's literally this.
No, I don't have that. Okay.
There's not much to it. All we're gonna do, I need quotes, so that's what Tom is working on. But I just want, so my intent would be to pursue as many
Right.
projects
Yes, we can.
and submit as many as we have need for. I'm gonna go
Right.
back and look at our building committee minutes, and see if
Right.
there's something in there I've forgotten about. But those 4 things are what I'm thinking of to put in for
Good idea.
projects. And then we have to do it by August 13th. So I'm working with Tom. I just want you to know.
Okay.
And I hope, are you good
Yes,
with
I'm
that?
on board.
Go.
Okay.
Yes, go for it.
Do we need
Because-
a resolution of the board
Well, that's-
authorizing that?
I don't know.
It wouldn't hurt even if you don't need it.
I'll make a resolution that I'd make a motion
Authorizing the supervisor to
Authorizing the
Apply.
supervisor to apply for the county ARPA capital improvements program.
Thank you. I'm sorry, Carl, but I think this time I'm giving it to Judy. Judy seconded. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. So the good news on the preserve drainage project seems to be that I think with the assistance of Dave Knapp, quite honestly, the county water and environmental protection agency has decided that it is an appropriate project for the sewer consolidation lease, $200,000. So we are moving forward on that. We are getting with the engineer, they're putting together, he's putting together specs, and I will keep you posted. But that is great news
great.
because that money, they were trying to narrowly define it, and
Right.
it wasn't going to do us any good if they kept it narrow. So I called Dave and I said, can you do anything? Because I just so happened to be meeting with WEP this week. So I think that got them reconsidering. So thank you,
Great.
Dave Knapp. But that's a project that has been long overdue and long delayed. So at least I think that the fact that we can move it now with some money that won't necessarily, and they only wanted to use it in the special districts because that's where.
That's where the consolidation
Yes.
happened.
So it wasn't available to the whole town, which is one of the things I thought we could use it for, but it's not, we can't. But this project initially, they weren't sure, they wanted to do something else. But this will be nice because it will offset what we were already charging as a fee for that special district in particular, trying to come up with the money that they need to do this project. So it won't totally have to come out of their pockets. And as far as NYSERDA, our Clean Energy Community Program goes, I just want you to know that we finalized the unified solar permit with Bob's help and John Shaheen's help. We settled on the 175 fee. We're just gonna put the letterhead on there and it's good to go. And once we do that, we can submit it for qualification under that program. But we've already completed apparently 4 benchmarks, which we haven't got the official notification of the 4th one yet, which is, I think, I don't know which one it is. It's either the LED lighting or the benchmarking.
The LED
Posting.
lighting was the last one we entered into.
Okay. So once that happens, we can receive $5,000 in NYSERDA grant money. And my thought is if it doesn't and this is open for discussion. We don't have to talk about it tonight. I just want to plant the seed to replace all of the lights in the town structures with LEDs, which would be cost effective and energy efficient. So
Might not happen at $5,000.
it might not, but between that
It
and
would be
maybe
a good start.
stimulus, yeah, we could figure something out.
Yeah.
We'll see, but yeah, it would be a good start. And then it would also be nice on the electric bill.
The next push is gonna be electric stations for your car.
I know, and that's one of the clean energy
Yeah.
community program benchmarks
Mhm.
that we really haven't pursued yet. Because out here, the demand is less, but in the city, it's really
Yeah.
taking off.
They're
So-
trying to do one in the village of Tully right now.
Mhm.
They're very close to getting it.
I just got a call at the mountain the other day for it. So
Oh, that makes
Yeah,
sense.
there's a pretty good grant for it. They cover most of the cost of
Yeah.
it.
it's 100%.
It is.
Wow.
No, I was,
Other than
somebody
some
from
of the
the state
connection
reached out
charges
to
they
me.
don't cover.
And then
Wow.
it offsets
Wow.
your, then we can, I didn't know this, but apparently then whoever is the host of the stations can charge a fee for that, for the use of it. So there would be revenue to the town. So
Nice.
I don't know how much, but anyway, so that really that first item on new business was exactly, that's why I put it there, because it really related to NYSERDA. Okay, Sweet Road. If you knew what I've gone through this month this past month with Sweet Road. Because they put up the 45 mph reduced speed signs in the wrong places. So, yes, so then they took them down and put them up in other places. And of course, our very observant town residents noticed. We had many, many phone calls about what's going on and why is this happening? And Nikki's had them, I've had them. The people along Sweet Road, up and down Sweet Road, are really upset with the speed, especially with farm days, but the county came through and have, with the reduced speed in that area, with the big jumbotron, event ahead through August 5th, slow down. And they also mowed, which was huge because visibility when the county doesn't mow on those roads is really tough. So they took care of that, but I am inclined, given where they replaced the speed signs, the buffer zone, which is literally 1,300 feet. That's all outside of the hamlet of Pompey Hill on Sweet Road. It doesn't come close to covering the areas of concern. So I am of a mind to want to appeal that decision, which I've already reached out to Al Sturpey's office. They would support it. They would meet with the Department of Transportation with us on it. If that was necessary, they'll give us a letter of support. I've already asked the residents along that road up and down to give me letters, individual letters asking like what their concerns. I don't have much hope that it's going to make any difference after talking to the regional director for the DOT, because they plug your road into a formula and it spits out what the speed is recommended to be for that road. So having heard that and listened to the explanation, and even though if you appeal, they'll use a different is it more national? I don't know, whatever. So I just wanted authorization to appeal. That's what I wanted.
I make a motion, we give you the authorization to appeal that decision.
Okay.
Second. You had your chance.
It's love tonight, Sheila.
If there's not any other discussion after my explanation, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. And I just want you to know also, I talked to the sheriff's office about our special details because I was concerned about farm days. But in more so than that, just the fact that unless you sit law enforcement 24/7 on our roads, people speed. They just do. So we can't afford to have 24/7 special
Right.
details out here.
Excuse me, I live on Cherry Street. It's a drag strip, okay? They're coming off of 20.
Okay.
They're coming down towards 20.
What's your name?
Glad you asked. You were supposed to stop by my house.
Oh, are you Mr. Delisi?
Zealy.
Zazili, sorry, I got it backwards. Well, I was, but I lost my escort.
Oh.
I don't know what happened. But can we talk after?
Right now?
No, we could, but can we finish this first? And
Public
then
comment?
public comment if you want to be heard. I just want you to know that we're going to play with the special detail in another different way by having them come out a couple of times a month randomly, so nobody knows. I've given them some roads that are problems, and they will choose which roads and how many sheriffs to put on them. Unbeknownst to me, they hit the hamlet in Pompey Hill a couple of days ago in the morning, and they got 26 speeders.
Wow, out time, they fly down.
I know they do, and I was there on Tuesday. Working on the Hamlet green space, and I could not believe how fast in a 30-mile-an-hour zone we're going.
All the time.
So I'm hoping that that might
Why
have
don't
like,
we have Ticket Tuesday anymore? I haven't seen any troopers or sheriffs. up
because
there.
Ticket Tuesday was so obvious. That's, you need to catch speeders by
They pick a
surprise.
different day.
That's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. That's exactly the plan.
The sheriffs are supposed to patrol up here anyway.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like,
But they do it on, they prioritize. So we're not considered a priority when they do assignments, you know, because we don't have the traffic and the volume. So we don't get the priority. So we get them out here. We just don't get them. I mean, if you want to talk about like wanting the sheriff's office department out here, talk to the people that lived around 2871 Pompey Center Road. Because by the time they get here, if you call them, the situation has dissipated. They need what?
Substation.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Well, they have one in Lafayette, as you well
I
know.
want to know what's that.
Oh, you're talking about the sheriff's? That's something to discuss, but anyway, I just wanted to mention that we're switching this up a little bit to try and be a little bit more creative with this because we're waiting on our speed reader. I'm still waiting on the agreement so we can purchase those, but I'm not even sure that matters because it only matters if you say, oh, I'm going 40 and I should be going 30. So it really, the only thing that works is if you get stopped. But as I said, we could not afford to have somebody out here 24/7. This town couldn't afford it. So anyway, that's all I have. It's public comment time. Do you want to speak about your situation or do you just want to talk to me later? Okay.
why don't you just talk about it later?
Yeah, let's just talk about it later.
Oh, don't,
Um,
no.
I'm not gonna make you.
Let's talk about it now. Let's get it done and over with.
Okay,
So we've had numerous complaints about the flag.
Good.
And we also know that as a town, we have no authority to tell you to take it down.
Exactly.
So the only thing I was planning to do was come over and say, you can have your political views. Could you just express them a little bit less forcefully so that people are not as offended? Many, many people are offended by that flag.
I'm offended by a lot of things that go on in this world. My flag is not one of them.
Okay, so that's fine. That's as far as,
End of the discussion.
right, that's it. So Veronica, is there anybody on social media that wants to be heard?
There was one chat that came in.
And then anybody else here?
Right.
This is in regards to the Cherry Street property.
Who is it?
It's Janine. So
Janine Hahn?
she didn't put her last name, and she's no longer on. It hasn't been done in 5 years. It's an eyesore for the whole town. He doesn't have the means to take care of it.
Okay.
And then on Facebook, we have a few comments. One from Greg Hurley. Madam Supervisor, please cease criticizing the work of previous code enforcement officers in such a public fashion. I think they all had the town's best interest at heart and worked well with our builders and residents while respecting the fundamental right of people who pay dearly for what they struggle to own and improve within the confines of the law. I think you may be putting the town in great legal peril through your reckless and quite frankly classless statements. If I were any of them, you would be speaking with an attorney. Think about that, please, before you speak. I value my tax dollars and don't want them spent paying legal settlements. Very unprofessional. You owe them all. Thank you.
Unbelievable.
Diane Kendall Carpenter, in regards to the speed limit. Thank you for arranging that. I think she needs the appeal. The cars on 20 also pass school buses with reds on. Jamie Epstein. Can we please talk about all the break-ins lately, not only in Pompey, but several other towns? There was a break-in last night in Pompey. Troopers admitted they have tried to catch these guys for a year, and we feel like nothing is being done about it.
We can talk about that. It's everywhere. It's not just Pompey. That the break-ins, whether it's car larcenies or house break-ins, are occurring everywhere for whatever reasons. I think law enforcement is doing the best job they can with what they've got. People with video cams are really, that's really helpful. If you can catch somebody on one of those.
It happened at my house a year ago.
But locking doors, whether it's houses
Yes.
or cars, and not leaving belongings like wallets, keys, anything in plain view is really, really important. I used to never lock my car, and now I lock it all the time.
Leave the doors unlocked.
That's all I have.
Yes, Bob Rodriguez, Code Enforcement Officer.
I would like the board and the town to recognize the new sworn-in codes officer, Tim Gainey. Now that I am stepping down.
Can you switch the camera over to him? So the rest of the world can see him.
Go back.
No, you went too far.
Too far. No, he's up right-hand corner.
Front seat.
Jeez. Tim, you can just get up there.
Keep going. Right, there
There
you
you
go.
Welcome, Tim.
Yeah, thank you for stepping up and stepping in and working with Bob and making it a smooth transition. It's really important. And Bob, you know how we feel about you and the work you've done, because it has been thankless for the last year and a half, getting that office organized.
It's been a long struggle undoing things that were done and trying to make things right. I did not finish. Tim's got a
Yeah.
workload ahead of him, not as bad as I had, but
And we still have, how many open permits from that you can't even close because,
there's in the vicinity, somewhere around 235
Oh, my
for
gosh.
4 years that we cannot close.
because the work got done, no inspections got made, it's just so,
And if people need proof of that, we'd be glad to show them what we have.
yeah.
But Tim, great job for you.
I have every faith that that's the case, especially since became highly recommended. And I really, I don't, and I'm happy you're here, but I really want to thank Bob. I don't want to shift it away, but this is our last board meeting with you present, and
Yeah.
Oh, hey,
so thank you for
I'm like, yeah,
the hard
Thank
work.
you.
this is gonna be hard stepping away from this.
thank you.
But thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
We appreciate you.
Now you get to ski.
So I would entertain a motion to
I
adjourn.
make a motion.
Carl got it.
Second.
Judy seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion
Especially on an adjournment motion.
He was waiting for that one.
I don't care if you want that.